Makasiano v Diokno. Facts. On June 13, 1990, the municipality of Paranaki passed Ordinance 86, S 1990, which authorized the closure of J. Gabriel, G. Cruz, Bayanahan, Lt. Garcia Extension and Opena streets located at Baclaran, Paranaki, Metro Manila, and the establishment of a flea market thereon. The said ordinance was approved by the Municipal Council pursuant to MCC Ordinance 2, S. 1979, authorizing and regulating the use of certain city and/or municipal streets, roads, and open spaces within Metropolitan Manila as sites for flea market and/or vending areas, under certain terms and conditions. On July 20, 1990, the Metropolitan Manila Authority approved Ordinance 86, S 1990 of the Municipal Council subject to conditions. On June 20, 1990, the Municipal Council issued a resolution authorizing the Paranaki Mayor to enter into contract with any service cooperative for the establishment, operation, maintenance, and management of flea markets and/or vending areas. On August 8, 1990, the municipality and Palanyag, a service cooperative, entered into an agreement whereby the latter shall operate, maintain and manage the flea market with the obligation to remit dues to the treasury of the municipal government of Paranaki. Consequently, market stalls were put up by Palanyag on the said streets. On September 13, 1990, Brig. Gen. Makasiano, PNP Superintendent of the Metropolitan Traffic Command, ordered the destruction and confiscation of stalls along G. Cruz and J. Gabriel St. in Baclaran. These stalls were later returned to Palanyag. On October 16, 1990, Makasiano wrote a letter to Palanyag giving the latter 10 days to discontinue the flea market, otherwise, the market stalls shall be dismantled. On October 23, 1990, the municipality and Palanyag filed with the trial court a joint petition for prohibition and mandamus with damages and prayer for preliminary injunction. On December 17, 1990, the trial court issued an order upholding the validity of Ordinance 86/S 1990 of the municipality of Paranaki and enjoining Makasiano from enforcing his letter order against Palanyag. Hence, a petition for certiorari under Rule 65 was filed by Makasiano through the OSG. The Supreme Court granted the petition, and reversed and set aside the December 17, 1990 decision of the RDC which granted the writ of preliminary injunction enjoining the PNP Superintendent Metropolitan Traffic Command from enforcing the demolition of market stalls along J. Gabriel, G. Cruz, Bayanahan, Lt. Garcia Extension and Opena streets. Ratio. Property of provinces, cities, and municipalities, property for public use. The property of provinces, cities, and municipalities is divided into property for public use and patrimonial property. As to property for public use, Article 424 of Civil Code provides that property for public use, in the provinces, cities, and municipalities, consists of the provincial roads, city streets, the squares, fountains, public waters, promenades, and public works for public service paid for by said provinces, cities, or municipalities. All other property possessed by any of them is patrimonial and shall be governed by this code, without prejudice to the provisions of special laws. In the present case, thus, J. Gabriel G. Cruz, Bayanahan, Lt. Garcia Extension and Opena streets are local roads used for public service and are therefore considered public properties of the municipality. Properties for public service deemed public and under absolute control of Congress. Properties of the local government which are devoted to public service are deemed public and are under the absolute control of Congress. Local governments have no authority to regulate use of public properties unless authority is vested upon by Congress, e.g. closure of roads. Local governments have no authority whatsoever to control or regulate the use of public properties unless specific authority is vested upon them by Congress. One such example of this authority given by Congress to the local governments is the power to close roads as provided in Section 10, Chapter 2 of the Local Government Code, which states a local government unit may likewise, through its head acting pursuant to a resolution of its Sangguniang and in accordance with existing law and the provisions of this code, close any barangay, municipal, city or provincial road, street, alley, park, or square. No such way or place or any part thereof shall be closed without indemnifying any person prejudiced thereby. A property thus withdrawn from public use may be used or conveyed for any purpose for which other real property belonging to the local unit concerned might be lawfully used or conveyed. Legal provision should be read and interpreted in accordance with basic principles already established by law. LGU has no power to lease a road available to public and ordinarily used for vehicular traffic. The legal provision which gives authority to local government units to close roads and other similar public places should be read and interpreted in accordance with basic principles already established by law. These basic principles have the effect of limiting such authority of the province, city, or municipality to close a public street or thoroughfare. Article 424 NCC lays down the basic principle that properties of public dominion devoted to public use and made available to the public in general are outside the commerce of man and cannot be disposed of or leased by the local government unit to private persons. Aside from the requirement of due process which should be complied with before closing a road, street, or park, the closure should be for the sole purpose of withdrawing the road or other public property from public use when circumstances show that such property is no longer intended or necessary for public use or public service. When it is already withdrawn from public use, the property then becomes patrimonial property of the local government unit. It is only then that the LGU can use or convey them for any purpose for which other real property belonging to the local unit concerned might be lawfully used or conveyed. However, those roads and streets which are available to the public in general and ordinarily used for vehicular traffic are still considered public property devoted to public use. In such case, the LGU has no power to use it for another purpose or to dispose of or lease it to private persons. Related case, Cebu Oxygen v. Bercils. In Cebu Oxygen v. Bercils, the City Council of Cebu, through a resolution, declared the terminal road of Emborses Street, Mabalo, Cebu City as an abandoned road, the same not being included in the city development plan. Thereafter, the City Council passed another resolution authorizing the sale of the said abandoned road through public bidding. The court held that the city of Cebu is empowered to close a city street and to vacate or withdraw the same from public use. Such withdrawn portion becomes patrimonial property which can be the object of an ordinary contract-related case, Dacone v. Asistio. In Dacone v. Asistio, the disputed areas from which the market stalls are sought to be evicted are public streets. A public street is property for public use, hence outside the commerce of man, arts. 424 Civil Code. Being outside the commerce of man, it may not be the subject of lease or other contract. Villanueva, et.al. v. Castaneda and Macalino, 15 SCRA 142. Citing the municipality of Cavite v. Rojas, 30 SCRA 602, Espiritu v. Municipal Council of Paso Rubio, 102 Philosophy 869, and Wiat v. de la Fuente, 48 OG 4860. The right of the public to use the city streets may not be bargained away through contract. The interests of a few should not prevail over the good of the greater number in the community whose health, peace, safety, good order, and general welfare, the respondent city officials are under legal obligation to protect. The leases or licenses granted by the city government to stall holders are null and void for being contrary to law. The executive order issued by the acting mayor authorizing the use of Heroes del 96th Street as a vending area for stall holders contravenes the general law that reserves city streets and roads for public use. The executive order may not infringe upon the vested right of the public to use city streets for the purpose they were intended to serve, i.e., as arteries of travel for vehicles and pedestrians. In gratia argumenti, ordinance cannot be validly implemented as municipality has not complied with conditions imposed by the MMA for the approval of the ordinance. Even assuming, in gratia argumenti, that the municipality has the authority to pass the disputed ordinance, the same cannot be validly implemented because it cannot be considered approved by the Metropolitan Manila Authority due to non-compliance by the municipality of the conditions imposed by the former for the approval of the ordinance. The allegations of the municipality that the closed streets were not used for vehicular traffic and that the majority of the residents do not oppose the establishment of a flea market on said streets are unsupported by any evidence that will show that the first condition has been met. Likewise, the designation by the municipality of a time schedule during which the flea market shall operate is absent. Baclaran area congested. Establishment of flea market on municipality streets does not help solve problem of congestion. It is of public notice that the streets along Baclaran area are congested with people, houses and traffic brought about by the proliferation of vendors occupying the streets. To license and allow the establishment of a flea market along J. Gabriel, G.G. Cruz, Bayanahan, L.T. Garcia extension and open streets in Baclaran would not help in solving the problem of congestion but rather leads to inconvenience to children as the normal transportation flow is disrupted, to pollution and deterioration of health of residents due to the garbage left by the vendors on the streets. Further, ambulances and fire engines are not able to use the roads for a more direct access to the fire area and thus lose valuable time that should have been spent in saving properties and lives. And further, the ambulances and people rushing patients to St. Rita Hospital located along G.G. Cruz Street are delayed as they are unable to pass through said street due to the stalls and vendors. Powers of local government unit not absolute. The powers of a local government unit are not absolute. They are subject to limitations laid down by the Constitution and the laws such as our Civil Code. Moreover, the exercise of such powers should be subservient to paramount considerations of health and well-being of the members of the community. Every local government unit has the sworn obligation to enact measures that will enhance the public health, safety, and convenience, maintain peace and order, and promote the general prosperity of the inhabitants of the local units. Based on this objective, the local government should refrain from acting towards that which might prejudice or adversely affect the general welfare. General public has legal right to demand the restoration of city streets to their specific public purpose. As in the Jaclyn case, the general public have a legal right to demand the demolition of the illegally constructed stalls in public roads and streets, and the officials of municipality have the corresponding duty arising from public office to clear the city streets and restore them to their specific public purpose. Applicability of the Jaclyn case. Contracts by local government governed by the original terms and conditions, and the law in force at time the rights were vested. As in the Jaclyn case, both cases involve an ordinance which is void and illegal for lack of basis and authority in laws applicable during its time. However, BP 337 has already been repealed by RA 7160, which took effect on January 1, 1992. Section 5 of the new code provides that rights and obligations existing on the date of effectivity of the new code and arising out of contracts or any other source of prestation involving a local government unit shall be governed by the original terms and conditions of the said contracts or the law in force at the time such rights were vested.